Long ago is it since a picture like this would have been either abhorred or ridiculed. But today, the education of small children in methods of self-preservation is recognized as a humane proceeding.
U.S. citizen returning to the United States in the previous 14 days will be subject to up to 14 days of mandatory quarantine.
I sang Wednesday night at an event, a classical event, and I wrote a song and sang it for this event. They asked me to sing, oh, can you do like a spiritual? No, but I'll give you something. So I wrote something and did it.
Now, Kevin, I know you're very outspoken with your music. Is there anything you would feel comfortable sharing now? I don't want to put you on the spot, but about that, whatever you wrote. Oh, you're muted. Sorry, buddy.
I sang again. It was a little classical violin event, and again, I was asked to do a spiritual because we want to do something. It's like, no, I won't do a spiritual because Black people don't actually sing spirituals. But I did the song that I wrote, and I wrote and finished it the night before, and I sort of just mentioned that these are not ideal times, and shooting Black people in the street isn't ideal, and that's part of making America great. Shooting Black people in the street seems to be part of making America great. That's what I did for that song.
It's an interesting approach.
Yeah, they just looked at me, but everybody was just quiet at the end. but then they did like, oh, maybe we should clap or something. But yes, it was interesting.
Thank you. I know Emily has something that she wanted to say. Go ahead, Emily.
Well, I think that song's amazing. I hope you made them all very uncomfortable because I can never write a joke like Dave Chappelle or anything. Like, I just have to stick in my lane, my perspective. So for me right now, I'm looking at my white, very privileged community and seeing where I can make fun of them, because like there's so much humor still that like white people have to be uncomfortable. It's all our fault. Like, let's own up to it. And like I was like doing a tweet about my dad. Like, this is one joke I wanted to work out. I'm like realizing how whitewashed my education was, and the biggest fucking joke of my English department is that when they wanted to give us the slavery book, they gave us Uncle Tom's Cabin. That's written by a white fucking perspective, guys, and it was, written by Harriet Beecher Stowe. And there's just like things I feel like I can look at, like, I don't know, like one girl posted about like banana bread and how she misses the phase before like all this happened. And it's just like so many ways white people are making mistakes that I think it's funny to poke at, I don't know if that makes any sense.
It makes sense.
It does make sense.
I was gonna say I'm having a tough time because being a comic and also being a child of alcoholics, I just have this instinct to just make jokes when it's tense, when things are tense. Just like what you do is you make jokes, and I've never like stopped myself from making jokes or thought there was something that was like inappropriate to joke about. But like I don't know, like I don't really want to make jokes about it. I mean, like, it's weird. It's like I have to like go against my instincts right now. Not that I was gonna like make any heinous, hateful jokes or anything, but like even I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's just weird. But I think that I'll try to be quick about this. I don't want to take up too much time, but I think that a lot of the white people who, when they hear about a cop, shooting somebody or killing somebody, their first reaction is to be like, oh, well, what did that person do? Or like, the cop couldn't have been like just breaking the rules. There's no way a human cop could break rules. The guy who got shot must have done something wrong. I think it's coming from a place of like, it's almost like the reality is too scary to face. Like, because I get into conspiracy theories too, and I get into big yelling arguments with my family about the Federal Reserve and everything, and it's a similar attitude that they have of like, they don't want to see the truth about things because they're too scared to, if it's that horrible, they don't want to know about it. And I feel like this kind of like white people who are, without looking into it, just denying that there's police brutality, I think it's a similar fear thing, you know? All right, I'll stop there.
It's traumatic to look at. It's traumatizing to watch the video, no matter who you are, but like especially if it, depending on what it's bringing up for you, or to like watch. Yeah, I don't know. It's just interesting that there's a shared experience of like watching a horrible tragedy like that scene and then talking about it. I think it's very healing in general for people to talk like Chappelle did in this. Like I feel like I like that he opened up space for other things, and he like stepped back from some things to kind of say like, maybe I'm articulating some things really well for you that you were thinking or that you can identify with, that can like release and bring up some feelings, but he also was humble about it. And then like, you're supposed to continue. So I feel like this is just like a big, I don't know, storytelling, healing. It doesn't have to be funny to be a healing story, as far as where comedy comes in with that.
All right. Now, as a comedian and what I got into it for, which I loved about comedy is one of the last great arts where you can call bullshit on life. And basically that's what he did. You know what I'm saying? And that's what great comics do. Good comics do it too, so that's what I appreciate. And if it comes out of his, is a joke, I'm more like a sidestep. It's like a slide jab. You know what I mean? I'm just gonna punch you in the mouth with it, and like go on. It's not like I'm gonna make that the punchline. You know what I mean? Because it's not a punchline, but it definitely, I'm not gonna act like it doesn't exist. And especially, looking from the other end, it's like when, white people approach me, it's like I told Boney, like the other day, I was like, I couldn't even be online and nothing like that. All my, white friends and, I love you guys and all that. They was texting me like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, the world. And, and I want to get this message out, to all my white friends, I don't want you to say sorry. I don't want you to say sorry. I want you to be sorry. Hit these protests, donate to these causes, sign these petitions, be sorry. If you're sorry, show me, you know what I'm saying? Like, do something, we need help. We need allies, be allies. Don't tell us what we need. Just sit in the back and listen. You know what I mean? Sit in the back seat. You know what I mean? Let somebody else drive and be sorry. You know what I'm saying? Just, participate in the way we need you to.
Can I add to that? If nothing's going to change unless you change legislation and fucking the politicians and all that bullshit. That's the most important shit. Fuck everything else. Like, cause they control laws and everything like that. So if the legislation doesn't change, nothing changes. Like if these police departments don't get defunded and change, nothing changes for us. Like, cause you can look at this video and feel some kind of way, but guess what? I've been stopped by the police and fucked with in a way that is so scared that is unbelievable. Okay, in fucking New England, in fucking Belchertown, Amherst, Springfield, scared
Facts
that I'm gonna fucking die for a basic traffic stop. Nothing that you've ever felt. Nothing like ever felt.
How many of the black?
Because you're not worried when the cops pull you over. So these fucking laws gotta change. If they don't change, then we're fucked. White people got to stand up and do something, activism, something.
How many black folks on here have similar stories to hers? Dang. Okay. Okay. Part of the issue is that we've had years of media making us think that the police are one thing. We have just go back to Gunsmoke, who's a cop. Let's go back to Adam 12, to all these shows, Columbo, Starsky and Hutch, Beretta. Now this is when I was a little person. Dragnet, everything else, all the way up to SUV, and etc. It's always the honorable officer friendly, which was a character cop, and he's your friend and he's there to protect and serve. Versus outside of what we see on television, a group of people who see another aspect of it. So if everyone's only seeing that officer friendly thing, everything that we're saying, well, that can't be the case because that's, well, officer friendly. And so they don't believe it. So when you say something like defund the police, people don't understand what defund the police means. And that's another problem. That's not a great way to phrase it. I think that what we should do is that it's a 3 strikes and you're out thing. I think 3 strikes is too many because 1 strike, somebody dies. But 3 strikes, 3 complaints, not even proven complaints, because that'll change how you behave toward people. 3 complaints and you're fired, period. You're put into a database that cannot be rehired by any law enforcement anywhere. You can't go from there to being somebody who works at a jail. You're just out of the field altogether. That would help, number 1. Number 2, if any complaints are investigated, we have a national system that investigates as well. If the local says, oh, well, it wasn't so bad, and they find that they actually were, well, then that whole thing, they lose actual funding. So there's a consequence. Right now, there's no consequence other than
So you want
paid immunity.
Police to be nationalized or like have a national oversight?
For investigation, so that the first thing, again, 3 complaints, fire somebody. I was going to say the president could do this, but a president.
That's 3 dead black men. 1 complaint and lose your goddamn pension. Shit.
Oh, yeah. But I'm trying to make it even as opposed to just 1, But
I think another important thing is education. You're getting people just straight out of high school. Mm-hmm. And from what I'm hearing, they have less training than a hairdresser or a barber when
6 months.
When they get into the police academy. So you have uneducated on whatever de-escalation, all those different issues, all those different things that people need training in. They have the power of life and death in their hands over anybody's life with a limited amount of education and training. I would say they need a 2-year or 4-year degree to be a cop or something, so they can show that they have some critical thinking skills or something, just, I don't know, but.
Well, a lot of police that they hire are ex-military, and military, you're trained for defense. You're trained to like your life is on the line. So when they go in with these situations, they act like their life is on the line, and they're gonna attack you or kill you before you get to them, and that's the problem. You know what I mean? Like the cop is supposed to be to protect and serve. When you join the military, you're supposed to be going to, you are a killer. That is what your basically your job is. You're trained to be a killer. So now these people get out of the military and they become cops. They still got that mentality, and that's part of the problem. They don't hire they rather hire ex-military than people with, like I said, who are of the community and know the community, know the language, know the sound, know the smell, the feel. It's like cops don't live in the hood,
Well, I'm not sure altogether, because sometimes you're better trained in the military. They're trained not to shoot until they're told to shoot, versus shoot and then ask. Shoot in the name. It depends on a few things though too. The guys that I know that are really good cops and are less likely to shoot you, they happen to have that other kind of training too. They're trained not to shoot, versus the high school kid who gets out, as Sandra was saying, it's like, yeah, let me do something. Not the same.
I personally have many experiences with law enforcement, not on no level like that. I'm very active in my community. So, some of my friends are actually police officers. They're very good police officers. I've met police officers who were white and were great police officers, but if I've ever gotten pulled over, I'm shaking. I'm scared because I've grown up in an era where I've seen people, young black men. I'm a young black man with tattoos and dreadlocks. I speak very good. I speak very well, but you know, that means nothing. But every time I'm pulled over, I'm scared for my life because I've seen these things, and you know, they always ask you, why you seem nervous? I'm like, you're a police officer with a gun pulling me over. It's at nighttime. Yeah, I grew up in this era. So until we start seeing change, you know, the fear's not going to leave us either. You know what I mean? And it goes back to exactly what they're saying. They're pulling people fresh out of high school who have no training, who are kids just like us. And it's like a gang. They're trying to prove themselves. They want their stripes. They want their colors. They want that badge. You know, it's just scary.
I also believe that in defunding, that we divest money from organizations that continue to hold white supremacist structures. So, you know, making organizations such as the police and other companies that we give our money to on a regular basis have to look at themselves and change the way their entire organizations are run, away from patriarchal white supremacist mentality and culture to something more collaborative, inclusive, democratic, and diverse, with diverse leadership. I think that's also where power is, and I think that bleeds down to government. It's, you know, we need to all be that way, I think, but that's just my 2 cents.
There's a lot of good work being done locally about that. I'll tell you, the Northampton PD, you know, they went for a freaking increase for the budget for this year. And so during the budget hearings, which happened in the last, 10 days or so, the first budget hearing, there was like 700 to 1,000 people on the Zoom call. And almost to a T, everyone argued against this increase. And people spoke so powerfully, either with their testimony about the abuse they suffered at the hands of the cops, including Northampton PD, or in terms of just what models look like where it works, where you do things like turn a lot of the work that should be for social workers over to social workers and not expect cops, you know, whose job it is to be tough guy, violent guy, to be doing, you know, wearing hats that they really shouldn't be wearing. And there's a lot of effort going on. I know that in Northampton, we've got a lot of progress. We got the increase to go away, and now we're pushing for
Okay. Yes, Sandra.
But I agree with what he's saying. And one of the areas that I think is important is in mental health, that they come up with a separate mental health team, because a lot of those phone calls they get are
using force to solve it, right? And I watched
Hey, Bob, we lost you
Springfield.
for a minute and Sandra started talking. Can you hold the thought and come back in a moment?
Sure. You know what? Let me just say this. I keep cutting out, and apparently I'm talking over people, and I don't even know it because my connection sucks. So I'm going to actually just chill, because it's this is like that's twice now where it just
Thanks,
cut
Bob.
and I talked over. So thanks.
Oh, I was just saying that I agree with him in that mental health is an area that needs this type of support where, some places are training police officers to handle mental health calls, but maybe we should have social workers or nurses or different people handling that versus sending police officers. I used to teach NAMI support groups for people who had family members with mental health issues, and a lot of their family members have been hurt by the police when they're in psychosis or they're having some type of episode. And it's, you know, you shouldn't get abused by the police because you're having a mental health issue or suffering that way. So
Thank you. Anyone have
Imagine-
last words? Oh, sorry, Kim.
I called the police recently. Okay, sorry. I called the police recently, and I was afraid after I called them. Like, I was a little afraid. I thought that the woman staying in my Airbnb had died, and I didn't want to go in there. I had called her. I'd done everything I thought I could, but I didn't want to go inside there because I thought, what if she is dead? They're going to blame me. You know what I mean? Like, that type of shit. Like, you're just afraid. Like, it's just it's just unbelievable, the fear that comes with them. It's just unbelievable. But anyway, I agree with Bob as well. I agree with all that. I agree with you, Laura. I agree. Okay.
Any last words? This has been a great discussion, and I'm so appreciative of this tonight. It feels like we could go on more time. Yeah, Tim.
Okay. First of all, I want to say that it was, I do love the discussion that, Dave Chappelle sparked. I think we're going to see a lot more of that online, and I think it's very necessary. You know what I'm saying? I think that's very, very necessary. I also want to give a shout out, to Laura Grant. She's been on the front line. I want to give a shout out to Bob. He's been on the front line. I want to give a shout out to Jenny Marie. She's been on the front line. I mean, these is all like white people who just been standing up, posting, calling people out. Boney been calling people out online. She's like, if I don't see a Black Side Matter, you off my timeline. She been waking me up in the morning talking about, look what this dude posted. Boney ain't never on time for nothing, but she is on time for the revolution, boy. I'm telling you. So I just want to make sure we acknowledge the people that are doing stuff, and trying, and actually, but these people always been doing something. This ain't just now. Like Bob has always been, speaking out for anything, any cause, any injustice or whatever. As long as I know Laura, Jenny, like I said. So I just want to say, and if I haven't said your name, my friend Alexis, she's always speaking out. She's trying to teach that in her classrooms. So it's important that, we watching and we appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? But for everybody else, like I said, don't say you sorry, be sorry. And I'm Tim Lovett.
Thank you. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. We'll see you next Sunday at 6 p.m. It's the Quarantine Call-In Show. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you, everybody.
Any U.S. citizen returning to the United States will be subject to up to 14 days of mandatory quarantine.
We got that vaccine, third eye clean, we Visine. Dancing off the top rope, we Dougie off them high beams. Running hard like track meets, debutantes in back seats. 9 cents for clear peas, my piss desperate vibes. Double parks on planet Mars, they surf the net, we surf the stars. Quarantine in Zanzibar, breathing on the masses. Paper like